It is easy to think of 3D printing as a gimmick, the creation of useless things. The revolution or a promise never came, and honestly, it was due to a few factors. 3D printers were expensive, and most importantly, the oversimplification of the printing process did not help. Fast forward a few years later, the excitement has leveled out, and 3D printers are much better than before, more affordable as well. Honestly, I believe there is no better time to get started in 3D printing, and when it comes to being a maker, it can be a great addition to your shop. There are many 3D printers in the market at a variety of prices, each with their pros and cons. I have personally used dozens of 3D printers in the past decade, and I chose 2 3D printers to recommend. My focus was overall value, price, ease of use, and a few other metrics. I will only cover one printer in this video. If you want to know my second pick, that video will come at a later date, so be sure to subscribe not to miss it. My first choice is the Anycubic i3 Mega, overall one of the best 3D printers for your shop. As stated earlier, the 3D printing process is not a mindless task. Many things can and will go wrong, and there is no such thing as the perfect 3D printer. Each machine has a long list of pros and cons. The i3 Mega is no different. With a little patience and willingness to learn, it will all be worth it. Let's look at some of the pros and cons of this printer, starting with the pros. Easy assembly. I purchased my first printer back in 2014, the Printobot Simple Metal. It took me days to assemble. It was my first kit printer, so that was to be expected. I have since assembled a Tivo Little Monster, a Tronxy X5S, and a few other kit printers. All those kits took at least 6 hours to build. It's easy to overlook how simple the i3 Mega is to install. 4 screws on each side, and 3 color-coded wire looms and you are set. Honestly, that's all it takes. Sheet metal construction. Most 3D printers are made of aluminum extrusions. Depending on the design, stability can be an issue. The i3 Mega is a solid printer. It somewhat reminds me of the Printobot Simple Metal. On a side note, Printobot is no longer in business.
Printobot is now closed, bankrupt.
I am very grateful the Simple Metal was my first printer, and honestly, it opened a new world of possibilities for me as a maker. It was one of the first affordable 3D printers that somebody like me could get, and honestly I am grateful. Rest in peace, Printobot. Ultra base heated bed. Bed adhesion, in my opinion, is the most important part of 3D printing. The first layer of your 3D print is really important. A heated bed is not strictly necessary if you're planning on printing with PLA. Honestly, in all my time 3D printing, I've printed once with ABS and a handful of time with PETG. That being said, a heated bed is nice and a necessity for some plastics, and the Ultra Base heated bed is one of the best 3D printers upgrade I've ever used. Blue painter's tape, glue stick, hairspray, ABS juice. If all those words in one sentence makes no sense to you, consider yourself lucky, because over the years, all those things have been used to get your part to stick to the bed. The Ultra Base bed is some sort of perforated glass that expands as it heats, giving you a decent grip and shrink as it cools, so the part just pops off. Just amazing. The downside of that feature is although the printer has a resume after power loss feature, once the bed cools, that part is no longer sticking. Price. As of December 2019, the average price of the i3 Mega is $200 US, making it one of the most affordable 3D printers around. With all the features that it offers, it's one of the best price to value ratio printers I've ever used. Now for some of the cons. Temperature problems. Keep an eye on the temperature gauge. It heats up fine, but when printing, the part cooling fan air bounces from the bed back at the hot end, and the temperature cannot be maintained. There are silicone socks designed specifically for a situation like this, and I don't know why anycubic would not include it with the printer. At the time, I did not have one handy, but I picked up some silicone tape from my local Home Depot. This stuff is amazing. It sticks to itself and is rated up to 500 degrees. Personally, I would recommend this method as I have never used the silicone socks. It's fairly straightforward to install. I wrapped it around the hot end a few times and used the included flush cutter to cut the excess. While I was at Home Depot, I also picked up some adhesive back pipe foam to insulate the back of the printer's heated bed. It's not strictly necessary, but it's a simple upgrade and will speed up the bed heating process. No automatic bed leveling. At this price range, not too many printers have an auto bed leveling. Honestly, at this bed size, auto bed leveling is not needed. To level the bed, home the printer, make sure the steppers are off, move the nozzle to all four corners of the bed, and tighten or loosen the screws until you feel a slight drag on the paper included. You can also use a plain sheet of paper. The process is super easy and straightforward, but it can be a bit tricky sometimes. Overall, the i3 Mega is a great starter 3D printer. I will be making more content relating to the use of 3D printing and woodworking, so stay tuned for that. And let me know down below how would you use a 3D printer in your shop. That's all for now, and thank you for your time. I hope I've earned your subscription. Consider sharing the video if you find it useful, and a thumbs up would help the channel a ton. Until next time, later days.